Welcome to the show. NFL training camp update episode for you. This is live and direct on this beautiful August 2nd, 2025. Happy to be here with you guys. Hope you guys have been enjoying this summer. Took a little hiatus after my birthday last Monday. I thank all of you for the shout outs and the happy birthday wishes and the people that reached out. I truly appreciate it. I had a great time with the family, with my brother, and a lot of great time with some friends the day afterwards. So thank you so much. Yes, but definitely been plugging away, been knocking out episodes and getting things set up for you guys. So we got another episode right here. This one being NFL training camp update. We'll be going through all the latest news, the Micah Parsons contract dispute or stall that's going on with the Cowboys to the point where he's requested a trade, the Terry McLaurin, trade request situation, Christian Wilkinson's situation, a lot of things to unpack and dive into. So we definitely want to jump into that. But first and foremost, I want to make sure we give a shout out to a couple friends of the show. If you guys are definitely doing like I've been doing this summer, getting out, getting around, getting out with friends, I implore you to check out StubHub, the #1 leading getter for tickets to live events, shows, and concerts. There's currently a big promotion right now, as you'll see right here on the screen. Morgan Wallen, One Night at a Time tour. You got Paul McCartney's Got Back tour. Obviously, preseason tickets. Preseason just started. Hall of Fame game was the other day. NFL preseason and kickoff tickets are available. And also U.S. Open tickets. Definitely want to make sure you get that's something to do for the end of the month going into September. Definitely don't want to miss that. So I definitely implore you to check that out. Again, StubHub, the #1 leader, ticket seller, and reseller in the world for live events, shows, and concerts. And also for my avid gamers out there, if you're a huge PlayStation fan, if you guys know this is currently the 30th anniversary for the PlayStation, I implore you to check out the link for the Sony PlayStation Direct in the description box of this video. A lot of things going on right now for Sony. So if you definitely are a Sony fan or Sony enthusiast, PlayStation enthusiast, like myself, I implore you to check it out. It's great deals on there, great time to buy. It definitely helps celebrate the 30th anniversary of the greatest gaming system ever, being PlayStation. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks. All right, guys. So hopping into this episode, like I said, NFL training camp update. A lot of things to really unpack, and I'm not going to do like everybody else has been doing. I've been bludgeoned to death with the Micah Parsons news. I will touch on that, like as I previously stated, but I want to get to this Terry McLaurin news because I think this is probably the most underreported situation in camp. And it's not that let me not say that. It's not that it's been underreported, but I think the hype and the media scrutiny towards the Commanders has not been as stringent as it has been towards the Cowboys. Now, we've paid attention to this past offseason. We all know that the Commanders curried a lot of favor, drafting Jalen Daniels, getting Dan Quinn, kind of changing the culture in one fell swoop in one season. Getting to the NFC Championship game, being in the Final Four of the playoffs, getting fans to believe again, getting the city and the town to believe again, all the way to the point where you have Donald Trump talking about changing the name back to the Redskins. So it's a lot of things that really are going into play for the Commanders. Stadium deal, of course, too. So nobody's really paying attention to the bad optics that this Terry McLaurin situation is giving. I definitely paid attention to it as much. I just had a back and forth with a bunch of fans on Pro Football Talk. Not even a day ago, Commanders fans going back and forth about how this is a situation where he doesn't deserve DK Metcalf money. I'm going to be completely honest with you. What the fuck has DK Metcalf done to deserve that contract? Now, he went to the Steelers, right? Let's keep this in mind. The Seahawks didn't pay him that money. Seahawks were the team that drafted him and didn't pay him that money. He went to Pittsburgh. He went to a team, got traded, they gave him the money. That's on Pittsburgh. However, Terry McLaurin's asked for something a little over $30 million. So we're talking anywhere between $31 and $33 million, which I'm pretty sure Terry McLaurin would be adequately happy and sufficient, and that would settle him and calm a lot of this ill will. But you have a situation where he's held out pretty much throughout the offseason. I reported on it previously where, he'd been doing yoga and Pilates and a whole bunch of shit, but hadn't reported to camp, missed the first 5 days. After that, reported, because as you guys know, it's $50,000 a day if you keep missing days of camp. And it can't be waived. The NFL it's a part of the CBA. You have to be fined for this. And again, looking at the Commander situation, we're not sure they would even waive it. So that being the case, Terry McLaurin shows up to camp on July 27th. And arrived and was automatically on a PUP list, which I thought was kind of suspicious. Now, naturally, this guy's been working out all offseason. Now, all of a sudden, he's got this phantom ankle injury. I get it. You got to have leverage in this bargaining situation, especially with the front office. The NFL front offices, as I've reported throughout this offseason, very stingy when it comes to money. Definitely have colluded before to make sure players don't get guaranteed contracts. So it's a situation where ultimately you're looking for Terry McLaurin and the Commanders to work this out, especially for a guy who's been loyal to the organization. I mean, has been there when the team sucked. I mean, absolutely fucking sucked. Was a bottom-feeding organization. You know, he didn't command a trade out of the team. He stayed. He was loyal, team captain, guy in the community. You know, this is one of the guys that you want to pay. This is one of the guys that you want. This is what we want, a Commander, Redskin, whatever the hell their name is. You want this to be the staple of their franchise. You want people to feel like this is what we want as an example for rookies and young guys to come in and follow. Set the tone. And then, you know, you don't want to pay the guy because he's turning 30 years old, which, by the way, is on my mom's birthday. Shout out to Mom Dukes, September 15th. So it's kind of crazy because you're basically saying he's too old to get paid, but you made moves for Laremy Tunsil, granted a left tackle, 30 years old. I mean, hell, Laremy Tunsil was 31 today. 31 years old. Happy birthday, Laremy Tunsil. But nonetheless, 31 years old today. You know, I went back and forth with Commanders fans about this. Deebo Samuel is 29, but is he really 29? He's 29, but football years, he's 33. And you guys know this. And what's so insane about this is there's people saying, well, it's not comparable. No, it's very comparable. Adam Peters did not draft Terry McLaurin. He brought Deebo in. You want to call it a one-year deal? Yeah, it's technically a one-year deal. It could be a two-year deal. Got it. He brought Deebo Samuel to fuck in with all those injuries and all that being said, knowing that Terry McLaurin was on the roster, knowing that Terry McLaurin was going to look for a new contract, knowing that this was the final year of his deal. And we're playing this fucking game as if Adam Peters had no idea this was going on. He had no idea Terry McLaurin was going to ask for more money. It's insanity. And, you know, if you believe this, Commanders fans or people that just, you know, watched and just casuals, if you believe this, I have an island in Iowa to sell you. It's bullshit. So, needless to say, he showed up to camp. Adam Peters here states, quote, on the business side, you know, and the guy's still working hard with Terry and his reps. This is Dan Quinn's quote, Dan Quinn stated, quote, on the business side, GM Adam Peters and the guys are still working hard with Terry and his reps. While he's on PUP, it just looks like we do with other guys, work with the trainers to get him back as soon as we can. Now, essentially, he was fined $200,000, it says here via ESPN.com. He was fined $200,000, $50,000 per day for missing the start of training camp. So, again, he did lose some money, you know, and when you're looking for a contract extension, you feel that. And he's looking, obviously, for that extension to replace some of what he's lost. Okay, so things playing out. He's at camp, PUP list, everything's going good. Well, as of about a day or two ago, Terry McLaurin just requested a trade from the Commanders. Now, most people are like, well, why did he request a trade from the Commanders? Well, it's very simple. They're bullshitting him on a contract. They're bullshitting him on a contract. I love how teams get the benefit of the doubt. We forget, yes, Dan Quinn was one of the most beloved coaches. You know, everyone kind of thought that with how things were playing out with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, it kind of seemed like a situation where Dan Quinn might get that job, might become the guy. He didn't. He gets to Washington. You get in Adam Peters from San Francisco. You get, drawing blank now on the guy, Josh Harris, the owner of the 76ers and that ownership group. You get him to come in and buy the team. You get Dan Snyder out of there. And yes, Dan Snyder was a fucking moron. Dan Snyder had no idea what the fuck he was doing. He did not know how to run a franchise. Yes, all of that said, all of that agreed upon, yes. But it seems like they're trying to placate to the public, well, we have to not do this because if we do this, it's going to jam us up contractually for the next couple of years where we won't be able to sign some guys. I don't know if you guys really are paying attention to this, but have you seen the Commanders wide receiver depth chart outside of Terry McLaurin? You have old-ass, often injured Deebo Samuel. You have a situation where ultimately he's just, you know, is he going to play a full season? Probably not. Has not played a full season in a couple of years now. Yeah, so you're Luke McCaffrey, who has not played really a significant down of football since he's been drafted. Um, Ben Sinnott, who's the backup to Zach Ertz, tight end. I mean, what the fuck are we talking about? This is a situation where this guy needs to be paid. It's not even a question. He's earned the money. He's earned it. Let's be real. If you take him away from Jayden Daniels right now, that is significantly going to hurt this team. Significantly going to hurt this team. As a matter of fact, I would be one to bet and say it's a chance with losing him that affects your playoff chances. Because you're not going to be able to stretch the field and really go deep and be as dynamic with this guy not being there. So it's insanity. It's a situation where I don't really understand why they're playing this game. They're claiming that it's all contract. And as I've explained to fans, bullshit. They rip up these contracts whenever the fuck they want to. I mean, literally, front offices rip up contracts whenever they want to. If they want to sign a guy to a long-term extension, if they feel like they're not getting enough value on a deal, they want to get rid of a guy, they will fucking do it. So fans always seem to be quick to coddle for the billionaire and coddle for the laundry, which I understand. I myself am an Eagles fan. I am a diehard Eagles fan. I will support the Eagles through thick and thin. But I'm also realistic. If I see something, I'm going to spot it. If it's a duck, it's a fucking duck. If it looks like a rabbit, hops like a rabbit, eats vegetables, guess what? It's a fucking rabbit. So the reality of the situation is Adam Peters and the Commanders front office is selling a bill of goods to the fan base. The cap goes up every year. You could pay this guy an adequate amount of money without it really significantly destroying your cap. You don't even have to wait. You can actually wait until next year before that money even adjusts. You don't even have to have the contract affect this season. So again, it's a bunch of things that the Commanders can do to make sure Terry McLaurin is happy and that this ship is flowing smoothly and that this team is flowing smoothly. But essentially, he's requesting a new trade. He's requesting a trade. He wants a new deal. There are teams that are going to be calling. If I'm the New England Patriots, I am seriously contacting Commanders and saying, listen, take our first, take 2 firsts. We need them. We need them badly. Him with Stephon Diggs is a lot better than just Stephon Diggs and a cast of guys who have not really developed or who just really aren't that good. So, yeah, if I'm Terry McLaurin, he doesn't have much leverage because at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is he's there, he's showing up. He's already lost money. He leaves now. He's going to lose more money. And then Mike Florio, shout out to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. He even shot out the possibility of if he sits out during the playoffs. I don't think that's even feasible. I mean, if Terry McLaurin does that, he'll get blackballed and there will be no chance in hell that he'll even be able to get signed elsewhere because that narrative will be sold. He quit on you. So it's just a rat bastard situation. I feel bad for Scary Terry. I think the Commanders and he will come to a deal. I think they will work something out, but it's just a situation where, hell, man, within a span of 3 or 4 days, he went there, showed up to camp, reported, and now has requested a trade. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the situation and how things play out, but it is ultimately a thing where the Commanders are going to have to figure this out. Going forward now, we're going to talk about Micah Parsons and his situation with the Dallas Cowboys, and boy, what a shit show this has turned into. As we all know, and it's been well reported, Micah has been looking for a new contract. Honestly, since a year ago. He's been going back and forth with the Cowboys on this contract situation. Reported to camp, showed up, been a leader. Has been well spoken on, well documented how they wanted him to be more of a leader this offseason, be more ingratiated with the young guys, play more of a role, do more. And he's done that. That, needless to say, though, Micah Parsons is being shitted on just like Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott before him. And he's not up for it. And it seems like Micah is not for the shit. And as of yesterday afternoon, Micah Parsons requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. He went on Twitter and gave a nice long, quote about how, he went and explained this whole situation about how he's tried to work with the team. He's basically said for them to talk with his agent. Jerry and Steven have pretty much decided that's not something that they want to do. It's become a situation now where ultimately, he stated, quote, I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. It's crazy. You're in a situation where you have arguably one of the best defensive players in football still groveling for a contract at this point in juncture in the offseason when honestly, without him, your defense is a fucking dumpster fire. Um, I have not reported on this intentionally because this has just been my belief the whole way. Jerry is doing this on purpose. Jerry's going to drag this out, let this get to a boiling point, a fever pitch, and then day of, let's just say day of, maybe worst case scenario, day before the game against Philadelphia, you'll hear Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys have agreed on to the biggest contract extension for a non-quarterback in NFL history. I'll be reporting on it, obviously, after the game because I will be reporting on that shit before. I can promise you that. But yeah, they'll have that whole press conference and everything will be hokey dory and peaches and ice cream and bubbles and all that good shit. But I don't know now. I don't know. That was my thinking going into it, but the way things are playing out, you haven't talked to his agent, David Mulgeta. You keep talking about this bullshit-ass handshake agreement. Jerry knows better, y'all. Jerry's been negotiating longer than I've been alive, and you got to really stop playing this game with him and really realize that he's trying to have things his way. He's placating to the media while he's trying to get his young player to fold and cave into his demands. Now, yes, maybe he waits to the 35th hour, the 23rd hour. Maybe he waits to the 35th minute. Maybe he waits to 30 minutes, 35 minutes before kickoff. I have no idea. But I just think that this is a bad way to run a business. It's a bad optics. It's a bad situation. You're putting your team in a very, very precarious situation where you have a guy who's going out there who feels like his team doesn't give a fuck about him. And you're going into the season, you're playing the World Champs Game 1. You have a very, very defining season in front of you. A young head coach, guy getting his chance, wasn't really highly touted. Dak Prescott getting the pressure on not getting the contract. There's a lot of scrutiny for the Dallas Cowboys this season. And I think Jerry Jones is trying to, for lack of better words, get everyone's attention diverted here instead of there. Because make no mistake, I pay attention. He has not fixed that run defense. He has not fixed that pass defense. They are in a situation where they're going to be playing a lot of teams that are going to be able to spread them out. Jerry had to go get George Pickens because he knew on offense with just CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, it ain't enough. Defensively, this whole bullshit with not paying Micah, that's a distraction from the fact of what did he grab along the defensive line in the offseason? Who else did he grab at linebacker? Is Trayvon Diggs healthy? Starting to catch a theme here. Jerry, this is all P.T. Barnum bullshit. And I'm not enthused. I'm not impressed. I just really feel like Jerry's really just selling a bill of goods to the fan base. Micah's going to get paid. Micah has every right to request a trade. I think the Cowboys should honor the trade too. One moment. Now, I state that because if the Cowboys make this trade and allow Micah Parsons to go, it actually may fill up a bunch of holes that they have on their roster. They're weak along the defensive line. They're weak along linebacker. They're weak at corner. They suck along the offensive line. They have no running back. It's just a situation where maybe trading Micah Parsons may be beneficial for you. Now, again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's probably a 1 to 2% chance it happens. I don't think it really happens. I think Jerry just wants his way, and he's trying to get this young player to fold. Because Micah really doesn't have any leverage. He lost all the leverage. And he did the right thing by showing up to camp. It's just a rat bastard situation by Jerry Jones and Steven. I don't know what they think they're proving by doing this. It's just showing that they're truly incompetent and really a bad organization. So, again, shout out to Micah. Hopefully he definitely gets paid because he does deserve the money. He does. I mean, he's arguably one of the best defensive edge rushers I've ever seen. If you're looking historically, his stats are second to Reggie White. As far as sacks in a 4-year span, start to a career. So that says something. That says a lot. So I don't know what Jerry and Steven are bullshitting on or what they plan to do, but I think you keep fucking around and you're going to lose this young guy. Now, granted, they have franchise tags. So it's not like Micah could just press his way out of here. But the gauntlet has been laid down. Lines have been drawn in the sand, but lines that were drawn in the sand before. So we shall see, but it's just a fucked up situation that Micah Parsons is going through with the Cowboys. Heading up the Jets camp, we're going to touch in with the New York Jets up in upper New York, New Jersey. And it's crazy because Justin Fields definitely gave everyone a scare a week ago, dislocating his toe, being listed as day-to-day. Now, he has practiced since, albeit, though, that was a hell of a scare for the New York Jets. I mean, you just got this guy. You just got him in the fold. You were kind of hoping that everything was going to work out. They had to cart him off the field, which was a scary situation for the Jets. Ultimately, he was okay. And there's been a couple of situations like that, too. I mean, the Cowboys had a situation with Tyler Guyton a week ago where they thought he tore his ACL and couldn't find out it was a bone fracture. So, you know, very, very scary situations. But you're glad that Justin Fields is in there because I truly feel this year, and I've stated it before in a previous episode, it's imperative for Justin Fields to be good this year. He's kind of gotten away with, you know, it's well known that the coaches he had in Chicago were non-sufficient. They weren't good. But he has not really gotten that much better as a passer. He did look okay last year in Pittsburgh. I would argue, though, if he'd played more, he probably would have looked better. But Justin Fields definitely has to be healthy for the Jets to have any shot of doing what they plan on doing in 2025, and if even being successful. Staying within the AFC East, we're going to go to James Cook, and, you know, it's kind of a crazy situation. James Cook, another guy, kind of a hold-in situation. We kind of thought he was going to hold out. He actually showed up to camp, stated to the reporter very comically that, you know, he don't like missing money. He likes his money, which I completely understand. That being said, James Cook pretty much still wants to be paid. He feels like he deserves to be paid what he needs, and he eventually will be. So that's a good thing. But I don't know what the Bills, how that situation is going to play out, because contractually, with the money they're paying Josh Allen and with how they got, you know, the rest of the roster tied up with a lot of young rookie contracts, I'm not sure there's a way that they can work this out even right now before the offseason commences, ends, excuse me. But it's basically James Cook stating, quote, I mean, we have talks. I'm never going to give up. And he said this to Joe Buscaglia via The Athletic. I mean, I deserve it. What I want, what I need is going to eventually happen. So he has faith. I have faith, too, that it'll eventually happen. I just think that right now, with the way that they have contracts set up defensively, with the way they have the rookies contracts set up offensively, it's just not advantageous for them to do it right now. But I would argue that they need to pay him. You finally have a running game behind Josh Allen. Go ahead and go back to it being a Josh Allen show and see what that gets you. You damn sure haven't been to a Super Bowl yet. So you go ahead and take more weapons away from him and see what happens, Buffalo. So I just truly feel like they got to pay this guy. James Cook definitely deserves the money. He's been one of the best running backs in the league the past couple of years. And ultimately, he's shown that he could be reliable and he could be relied upon by Josh Allen, which ultimately for the Bills, that goes longer and further than anyone else, and even a fan or anyone's standpoint or viewpoint on the subject. Going to Raiders camp, what a crazy fucking situation going on here with Christian Wilkins and the Raiders. Now, as we all know, Christian Wilkins was a defensive tackle that was free agent, left Miami off season ago, went and signed a very lucrative contract. I believe it was a $100 million contract with the Las Vegas Raiders. Was it $100 million? I think it was $100 million. Well, I could check it out here for a second, but ultimately, his contract was voided. Now, I reported on this. I did a video on this, spoke on this. And, you know, it's kind of a crazy situation. We were all told and led to believe that it was the rehab and the way he was rehabbing was the reason why his contract got voided. That was not the case at all in any way, stretch, shape, or form, excuse me. Essentially, they've come out and said it was an HR complaint where, you know, he kissed the teammate on the forehead playfully, but, you know, the teammate didn't like it. It's the whole foot injury debacle. Ultimately, it just seems like the Raiders were sending a message with Christian Wilkins, and Christian Wilkins got the message and didn't like it. Now, as I reported previously, he has filed a grievance with the NFL Players Association on behalf of him to get this money back. It's a crazy situation. Now, bear with me here. I'm getting this via The Athletic. If the Raiders voting Wilkins' remaining guaranteed money holds, they will just be on the hook for his prorated signing bonus through 2028. So that means they'll have to continuously pay him, but only the signing bonus going into the 2028 season. Wilkins originally received a $24 million signing bonus, But the Raiders restructured his contract in March of this year to create cap space. So keep in mind that all that happened. They converted a $20.5 million roster bonus into a signing bonus and added a void year to the contract, which most teams do. That amount was prorated over the next 4 years in addition to his original signing bonus, which comes out to an annual cap hit of $9.925 million through 2028. So you're talking about $9.9 million through 2028. And essentially that's what they're trying to ensure that they can void that he doesn't receive. This is crazy. I did not think that Christian Wilkins was going to be going through this. I thought he was going to be one of the guys they were going to kind of lean on and be one of the staples on their defense. But clearly Pete Carroll and that organization is sending a message. They're not going to tolerate the bullshit. They're not going to tolerate a guy who they don't feel is putting in. That being said, Christian Wilkins has a grievance here. It really sounds like they just said find something, anything, and just kind of pinned it on him and said, all right, we got to get him out of here, because this doesn't really sound like any real legitimate grounds. Now, I get it. You're upset with how he rehabbed. You feel like maybe he bullshitted a Liz Frank injury. Say that, but don't say, it's because he kissed a teammate playfully on the forehead. It just seems weird. It seems crazy. I've in my years of being a fan of watching the NFL, I've never heard of anything like that. So be that as it may, I would definitely keep you guys updated on that. But sticky situation there in Las Vegas. Also, too, we had Will Levis, which, again, crazy as hell. Crazy as hell. Will Levis basically walked away from the season, chose to have shoulder surgery to ensure that he healed up for next season. Make no mistake about it. Will Levis knew what the writing was on the wall. The Mayo God has not lived up to the hype. He got guys fired last year. He came in. He knew they were drafting a quarterback. They drafted Cam Ward #1, as I previously touched on and reported here. So that being said, Will Levis knew, let me get the hell out of here and get a fresh start, get healthy for next offseason, and get a chance. He's still young. He's still a viable quarterback. But it just shows you how picking the wrong guy can really alter a franchise. This guy could not beat out Clifford at Penn State, and he was picked very high in the second round by the Tennessee Titans. And what a dumpster fire. This kid could not fucking play. And it wasn't just him. I mean, you have Treylon Burks who flamed out there a lot of it via injury. But, that end of that John Robinson era, year after, what a shit show. What a shit show. The Titans really have let go of a lot of talent over the past couple of years. But getting rid of Will Levis, I think, is a great sign for this organization. I think it's a sign in the right direction. And, onward and upward for Will Levis, and we'll see where the Mayo guy goes and see where he could plant a flag or plant that Hellman's jar and get a new starting position. And looking here before I wrap up this show, I definitely want to touch on the Seahawks extending John Schneider through 2031. What a hell of a contract. I mean, first of all, John Schneider definitely deserves it. John Schneider has been one of the best GMs in football. He's clearly had the Seahawks viable consistently. I mean, let's be honest. The Russell Wilson trade alone will make you realize this man knew what he was doing. They got rid of Russell. They got rid of this guy and his bullshit and the cliches and all the fuck shit that comes along with Russell Wilson. They bring in all this young talent, stay viable, get to the playoffs with Geno Smith, prove that it wasn't Russell, prove that it was a team. They have a little bit of a downturn. Pete leaves. They bring in Mike McDonald. They go 10-7 last year, missed the playoffs, which was crazy, but more or less of their own doing, not closing out some games early in the year. And Seattle just ultimately has just been a viable contending team. I mean, and John Schneider, this guy's gotten this team to 2 Super Bowls. He's drafted well. This is a precedent for a lot of other franchises to follow. I do feel like maybe, guys like Howie Roseman in Philadelphia, certain GMs are going to get this nod. They're going to see this and look at their owner and say, hey, boss, done a little bit more than this fucking guy. What you think? But credit to John Schneider. Like I said, he's done an amazing job there as a Seahawks GM. Looking here in further details, and I'll pull it up right here. He's 147-96-1 as the GM of the Seattle Seahawks. So that's an outstanding record. Been to the playoffs 10 times. So, I mean, again, just stating it. At their best during the beginning of his tenure, which is 2012-2015, they were not only a top team in the NFL, but had a 4-year run where any defense of an elite best, where they pretty much had a historic defensive run where their defense was considered one of the top historic defenses. Oh, we're talking about the Legion of Boom, of course. Won a Super Bowl which should have won 2. Obviously, we all know about the Malcolm Butler interception. So this guy has clearly done his job. Like I said, got off Russell and was able to make good on the franchise. Now, he did have some bad moves. I think he allowed Pete Carroll to have a lot more say-so a little bit longer in the organization than maybe he should have. That caused a bit of a rocky relationship and kind of a stagnation within the franchise between, I would argue, 2020 to 2025. But got to give this man credit. I mean, this man deserves the contract extension, and he's proven that he's a capable GM. And we shall see what the Seahawks do going forward, how they continue to address the roster and things going forward. But this man definitely deserves the money and deserves the praise. All right, and let's see here. Looking at further in this episode, more stuff. Trey Hendrickson reporting for camp. I think that's even crazier too. I mean, you got Trey Hendrickson, who was in a situation where literally this guy, I don't know if it's really his agent fault. I mean, we know the Bengals are stingy as shit with money, but I really feel like his agent really did him a disservice, having him sign a deal where essentially in a year or two, it's pretty much useless. Got to make better money moves, but essentially I feel like the Bengals are playing, with fire. You have a situation where you have a guy who's proven. You told him a year ago, go out and prove it and do it again, and, you'll get paid. And it seems like they're just bullshitting him even further. It fucking sucks. I don't know why these teams continue to do this. I mean, obviously it's the power and the leverage that they have, but it's just fucked up when you have a guy who's been loyal, come in, has been productive. And again, it was a free agent acquisition. He left New Orleans, came here and has flourished. Been one of the best defensive ends in football the past 2 or 3 years. And you just don't want to pay the guy. But he showed up, reported for camp. I mean, Trey Hendrickson was losing a lot of money not reporting to camp. I have the figures here for you shortly, but he has a level of optimism and kind of is figuring that him showing up is going to be a thing that's going to incur or spur on, further and better negotiations. But, he had mounted a $250,000 worth of fines. That's a lot of fucking money worth of fines to incur. And it just put him in a situation where he had to show back up. The longer he sat out, the more he was at a disadvantage. So, and obviously it can't be rescinded by the club. Again, Bengals wouldn't if they could. So Hendrickson did what he had to do, respected it completely. And he's set to earn $16 million this year if a new deal doesn't get done. So clearly underpaid, clearly outperformed his deal, but his representation, they failed him. I truly feel like, he needs to fire them because they did not really do him really a service by getting him to sign to a contract, which in 2 years became obsolete. So Brad Bastard situation. It sucks for Trey Hendrickson. Here we go, going a bit further. You got Kenny Pickett suffering a hamstring injury last Saturday at camp. Still hasn't reported back to practice yet, which is kind of sucks because I think the Browns really want to see what Kenny Pickett can do. They want to see what he can deliver as a quarterback. Again, I don't really think it's going to be much. I think with him being injured, he's going to probably be the guy that's going to be left out because the healthier you are with a 4-man competition, which is, again, insanity in itself, but it's the Browns being the Browns. We have a 4-man quarterback competition, though. Any guy that gets injured or puts himself at a disadvantage, you just common sense think that he's the guy, the odd man out, but don't know yet. But Kenny Pickett has been out since last Saturday with a hamstring injury and is still yet to practice. We're going here. So I make sure I touched over everything. It's a little bit longer of an episode. All right, and Matt Stafford. Again, this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Matt Stafford, a lot of people have been giving the Rams a lot of Super Bowl hype, legitimately so. Was in the final 8 of the playoffs last year. Played the Philadelphia Eagles very tough, even though they lost in the divisional round of playoffs. Played them very well in the snow. However, Matt Stafford is a large key to that. Matt Stafford, low-key, has been asking, I don't even want to say low-key, he's been asking for an extension, a bigger contract now for the past couple years. And the Rams have been stagnant and hesitant to give him one because ultimately he is an older quarterback. That being said, the situation continues to play out advantageously for Sean McVay and his front office and Les Snead. This guy has got a sore back again, another offseason where Matt Stafford's back is giving him an issue where he's going to miss the start of training camp. He's going to return for the second block, which is pads, but not really where he's going to be getting contacted like that. McVay gave a medical update. I'm not going to bore you with the semantics, but he's ultimately saying that the ultimate goal for them is having him ready for the game 1 against Houston. And they're going to work with him and work with the trainer and work with the medical staff and see what's the smartest thing to do with getting him back. I don't think that there's anything to be concerned about right now, but we have to be realistic. This is the second offseason where he's had this old man injury, this back flaring up. Matt Stafford will be their best hopes at a championship because I don't know if you guys know, their backup quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo. And last time I checked, Jimmy Garoppolo sucks ass. He is not saving or changing the world for anybody. Exactly the reason why Kyle Shanahan got off him with the 49ers. So be that as it may, Sean McVay and the Rams are preparing for, obviously, Matt Stafford missing the beginning of training camp. They said they prepared for him to return for the second block. They said he will not get back at team drills this week either. So, again, if you're the Rams, you have to be slightly concerned. Again, it's another offseason where this guy's got back injuries. You got Jimmy Garoppolo backing up the offense. And, again, you don't really have a guy to hang your hat on, a young guy to really say, hey, listen, if Matt goes down, this is our future. Very precarious situation for the Rams. Definitely something they're going to have to keep an eye on. Also, too, going to the Browns. Speaking, you've heard me mention the Browns being the Browns. Browns also have had issues, again, with players and domestic violence, which seems to be a recurring theme with this team. The Browns, via NFL.com, spoke with their GM, Andrew Berry, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles. He indicated that rookie running back Quinshon Judkins, who out of Ohio State, had a court of charge from a domestic violence situation, may not be at camp soon following the arrest. Now, this was reported on July 24th, so bear with me, this was almost a week ago. He stated that Quinshon Judkins had gotten into an issue where he was arrested on July 12th by the Fort Lauderdale police on a charge of battery and domestic violence, as I previously stated. Andrew Berry stated, quote, so in the terms of those decisions, signing, being at camp, and everything like that, it's honestly probably too early to make any type of determination. So as we gather information, we will have a better view on that. So, and he stated further, sometimes the information comes a little bit more slowly, but we're still in probably the information gathering stage with him. So again, trying to change their image, trying to make it seem like they're doing their job, and they're not just trying to put Judkins back on the field. Obviously, though, it was just a bad situation for him to put himself in. More details will emerge, so I'm not going to make any accusations. Obviously, he's been charged, he's been accused and charged with a crime, but he has not pled guilty, obviously, and there's no proof yet that he's guilty. So, that being said, it just seems like they keep running through the same issue with a lot of guys catching domestic violence charges or cases. Not sure if it's the organizational philosophy, not sure if it's the mindset that they have, but it's becoming a laughing and a consistent running joke and a bad one in the NFL when it comes to the Browns. So don't know what's going on with them, but they better figure it out very quickly. And also, too, something I want to report on that I think has been very underreported this offseason, but it makes sense. The UFL has been kind of going through a whole transition where they're doing a relocation with a lot of their teams that left the USFL. And also they're looking to expand into smaller stadiums so that way they don't have as many blank and empty stadiums as they had a season ago or comparison to the COVID games. I think that there's a bigger argument that needs to be made. Dan Campbell, also I have the article link here for you so you can see that, but I tend to agree that this needs to be the spring league or the developmental league for the NFL. In all actuality, you can get a lot of guys. There's already been guys that's left the league and come to the NFL and played and been starters and been contributors right away. This just becomes a situation where I think you have to kind of figure out the UFL needs the funding. They need people. They need the credibility of people saying, hey, look, this is the developmental league of the NFL. Look, guys go straight from here to the NFL. I think that would give them a sense of credibility and financial stability. Because business-wise, you can't have a team playing in a 47,000 stadium, 47,000 seat capacity stadium, and then you only have 9,000 fucking people in there. It's bad optics. It doesn't sound good. You can hear a fucking pin drop in there. You go further here via AL.com. The United Football League's new business director said at least 2, possibly 4 of the spring football circuits teams will relocate before the 2026 season. UFL announced Mike Rapole as a new member of the league's ownership group on Thursday and said he would lead business operations through his private equity firm, Impact Capital. So they're trying to inject cash to really make this organization and product viable, make it something that the NFL could even look to and even research with and use in a very advantageous manner. Essentially, Rapoli told ESPN in the Sports Business Journal that the UFL had not decided which teams would move, but he did identify one of the destinations, saying Columbus, Ohio, speaking to the fan base out there, and that they would get a relocated team. There's a lot of movement. You know, WNBA's doing this, UFL's doing this. I ultimately feel that the UFL needs to stop bullshitting and just acknowledge, and the NFL needs to stop bullshitting and acknowledge. This would be a great developmental league. Let's get these young guys trained, coached up. We already got NFL coaches already coaching them in the UFL. Let's get them coached and trained up, get them transitioned to the NFL, and then we can really develop guys, and guys can have more of a launch pad. You don't need 2 years. You know, now this guy's been playing pro football, you know, minor league pro football, and now he's playing major pro football. You have more of a clearer delineation of if a guy is good or not, instead of waiting 2 or 3 years, money being spent, hope, propaganda being sold, and the guy not really selling out to be anything or any fucking good whatsoever. So that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I love you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the next episode, which will be wrapping up 32 teams in 32 days. I'll be breezing through that, so definitely make sure you plug in. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.